Hello, welcome to Bored and Confused, where I review shows based on two criteria. One, was I bored? Two, was I confused? Today's show is Pirates, the Penzance Musical, playing at the Todd Haimes Theater and being produced by Roundabout Theater Company. As always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me, especially if you like what I'm doing and you want me to do more of it. Help me out. All right, so let's talk about this interesting show. So I am familiar with the operetta Pirates of Penzance, of which this is based on. All I knew going into this is that I knew it was an adaptation of Pirates of Penzance. And I did find it suspect that they were calling it a musical because Pirates of Penzance is an operetta. What is Pirates, the Penzance Musical about? Well, I shall tell you. I'm going to read it because it'll be easier. Frederick, a young man mistakenly apprenticed to pirates by his nursemaid Ruth, she misheard pilot as pirate, is finally released from his indenture on his 21st birthday. He falls in love with Mabel, one of the daughters of the Major General. Complications arise when it's revealed Frederick was born on February 29th on a leap year, meaning technically he has only had 5 birthdays and is still bound to the pirates. Hijinks ensue involving the soft-hearted pirate king, bumbling policemen, and exaggerated British honor codes. It all resolves with silly declarations of loyalty and love. That's a good synopsis, if I do say so myself. The book writer who adapted this, Rupert Holmes, has made it more into a musical than an operetta, but in my opinion, it's still an operetta. So the biggest difference that they've done here is they've moved the location of this to New Orleans, and they've reorchestrated the music so that it has a New Orleans jazz influence. Now, this is not the first time that this has been done with a Gilbert and Sullivan operetta. The great thing about Gilbert and Sullivan is all of their stuff is in the public domain, so you can do whatever the heck you want with it. It's been done to the Mikado. There was a swing Mikado in 1938. The Hot Mikado was presented in 1939 with an all-black cast, and then it was redone in 1986. There's the Black Mikado, 1975. In 1980, Joseph Papp did a Pirates of Penzance starring Kevin Kline and Linda Ronstadt that used pop music. There was the Punk Mikado and the Punk Pinafore in the 2000s. There's the Hip Hop Mikado. There's the Mikado Remix. There's the Tango Pirates. So the Mikado, Pirates of Penzance, and HMS Pinafore, the most popular Gilbert and Sullivan operettas, have all had these kind of treatments done to them. So this is nothing new. Pirates, the new Penzance musical, actually has a note from the artistic director, which I think is good when you want the audience to know something before they see a show, which I think was important for this. So this show is a collaboration between Rupert Holmes, who wrote the book, Warren Carlyle, who did the choreography, and Scott Ellis, who directed it, and who is also the artistic director of Roundabout Theater. And adding to these collaborators are Joseph Joubert and Daryl Waters, who did the orchestrations, and Joseph also did the music direction. And the designers, Linda Cho, Donald Holder, and Mikhail Sulaiman. Good luck saying that one right. All right. So Rupert starts this with a framing device. He has Gilbert and Sullivan come out. Gilbert is played by none other than David Hyde Pierce, and Sullivan is played by Preston Truman Boyd. And I liked this device because they explain why it's now set in New Orleans, and they make up this thing that on their last show, HMS Pinafore, didn't have an American copyright, and so it was produced without their permission. So this time they're opening in the US for the copyright reasons. I thought that was good enough reason for that. They also tell us in this opening scene that Gilbert, William Gilbert, played by David Hyde Pierce, is also going to be playing the Major General. Interestingly, they don't tell us that Arthur Sullivan, played by Preston Truman Boyd, will also be playing the Sergeant of Police. So it's interesting. In the program, they credit David Hyde Pierce as both of those characters, but for Sullivan and the Sergeant of Police, they're separated. I guess that means that when we watch the show that we're not supposed to believe that the actor who played Arthur Sullivan is also playing the Sergeant of Police, even though it is the case with Gilbert and Stanley. Okay, that make any sense? That's all right. That's confusing, but it doesn't really matter because this show is just silly. So all of the songs in this show have been reorchestrated and adapted to fit this new scene. Also, some lyrics have been changed by Rupert Holmes. And they've been given the New Orleans treatment with different kinds of New Orleans jazz and other flavors that you would find in New Orleans. Joseph Joubert, who's from New York, and Darrell Waters, who's from Ohio, did these orchestrations. I'm from Houston. I'm not from New Orleans, but I've been to New Orleans quite a bit and actually did spend a month in New Orleans developing my show Virtuoso. So I've heard quite a bit. I'd be curious for anyone who's grown up in New Orleans, what they would think of the adaptation of this, and if it feels authentic to him or just kind of tipping their hat to the New Orleans style. I think it's probably the latter, which is fine. We're adapting operetta. Some of the lyric changes I thought were cute and clever, although I do have to say, and this is a confusion I had, I didn't feel like the musical adaptation of these songs helped with lyric intelligibility. Their songs already have a lot of lyrics and a lot of patter, and when you added the bombast of a New Orleans parade or the street jazz kind of music, I found the lyrics very difficult to follow. And that's speaking as someone who's heard the lyrics for Pirates of Penzance before. I also felt like the melodies of the songs weren't really helped by this treatment. It did give us some nice choreographic moments and some really great energy, which I enjoyed. The song that I thought worked best in the show was I Am the Very Model of a Modern Major General, sung by David Hyde Pierce. And I felt because this song really was the closest to what it was original because his character is British, so they didn't have to give it a New Orleans flavor or anything. And this was the one song, of course this is probably the song we're most familiar with, but it is a fast patter song, and it was probably the one song where I actually understood all the lyrics to it. There's a lot of disconnects too with, the show is very British, as all of Gilbert and Sullivan's shows are. So there's some times where the Britishisms and the New Orleans things are butting up against each other. The police, when they come in the second act, they do not feel like New Orleans police. They feel like bungling British police with their billy clubs. And a lot of the humor feels very British. There's also the ideas of British honor that we get from not only the Pirate King, but also from the Major General. There was a moment where they talked about cars in the show, which I thought was strange because it says in the program that it's set in 1800. And as far as I know, there weren't cars around at that time. I think that's 50 years later. But as far as I know, the guns had been invented. And in New Orleans, I think the cops would have had guns. The pirates probably would have had guns too. So again, that's more of a British thing than it was a New Orleans thing. The ending feels kind of rushed and unearned in that the Pirate King has been saying that Frederick is not released from his servitude because he's not 21, he's only 5 because of his leap year. But as we get to the end, it wraps up really quick and he goes, oh, okay, I'll let you do your thing, but I still say you're 5 years old. But I mean, look, it's a light, silly, fun show. So was I bored? Was I confused? Unfortunately, I was bored during a lot of these fast patter songs where I just couldn't understand the lyric, and the choreography and the staging wasn't exciting enough to really hold my attention. So I kind of was just waiting for the song to get through because I know they're calling it a musical, but it's still very much an operetta, and the songs aren't really moving the plot forward. They're more commenting on society and little British isms, and they're meant to be funny, but if you can't understand the lyrics, then it's hard to really find them funny. And confused, there's just a lot of confusions where the British and the New Orleans juxtaposition doesn't always quite make sense. Let's talk about the actors. Now, there's really only a handful of leads in this show. You've got Ramin Karimloo, we're going to pretend I said that right, who plays the Pirate King. He's wonderful, very funny, very well cast in this role. David Hyde Pierce, by far and away, is my standout for this. Anytime he's on stage, I am not bored, I am not confused, I'm having a great time. He was also brilliantly costumed by Linda Cho. His pants and his shoes and his first costume as the Major General alone just had me tee-heeing. I love Jinkx Monsoon. I've seen her show The Ginger Snaps in Provincetown. I am a big fan of her. If you're a fan of Jinkx, you will enjoy her in this show. I don't think it's the ideal casting for this role because she's playing Ruth, who is the hard-of-hearing nursemaid, who is the only woman that Frederick has ever known. The joke is then when he sees what young women look like, he feels betrayed by Ruth. But Jinkx looks really good. She's not old. I know she always plays an older woman, but in reality, she's not that old. And she looks good in her costumes, and she's thin, and she looks just as pretty, I have to say, as some of the young maids. I thought Mabel, played by Samantha Williams, was really great. The police chief, who also plays Sullivan, he was good. And Frederick was really great, well cast, vacant, redhead, perfect for the role, beautiful singing voice, loved him. All right, direction, choreography, staging, set design, all of it's very fun and whimsical. The choreography was all serviceable, it was fun, nothing mind-blowing, kind of what you would expect for this kind of show. And thought it was staged well, and I've already talked about the costumes, and the structure of the book really follows the operetta. I have to give credit to Rupert Holmes for actually writing a very good adaptation. The book for this show is very strong. There's some really great lines that are laugh out loud funny. I thought he did a great job of turning this operetta into a musical. I think the songs are what keep this from being a musical, because they're clearly operetta songs. I thought the book is much stronger than the musical song adaptations or the orchestrations, which didn't always work for me and didn't always help the songs with their clarity. But the book itself, I think, is quite good. Did the show being set in New Orleans enhance the story? Not really. But did it make it brighter and more colorful and more fun? Yeah, I think so. So why should you go see Pirates, the Penzance Musical? Well, if you're a huge fan of Gilbert and Sullivan, go check it out for that. But the main reason I'm going to tell you is this guy right here, David Hyde Pierce. He was worth my ticket price alone, because this guy's getting up there in years, and I don't know, not that he's going to die tomorrow, but who knows how many more shows he's going to be in. And he is so funny, and he's so present and so good, and he's just such a great comic. The fight scene between him and the Pirate King, I mean, it's the fight scene between everyone, but when he gets involved, the physical comedy, I'm just laughing thinking about it. He's so funny. I'm just thinking about David Hyde Pierce, and I have to start laughing. So that's the reason. Go see it for David Hyde Pierce. Okay, let me talk about tickets. This one's a little difficult to get tickets to. They said they were offering rush tickets on Today Tix, but when I went on, they weren't selling them yet. I think they're like $54. So I just went to the box office and said, hey, what do you got? And they had for I think it was $55, they had seats in the boxes, which are partial view. Now, the box seats, as you get further back in the box, it's better. The closer box seat, not as good. Now, you can buy these in advance, so I'd say don't buy that first seat. But this, as you move further back in the box, it's worth that price of admission because you can still see most of the stage. And you could also do, there's 2 acts in this, so you can also do what I did, which was move for the second act so that I could sit more center. I may have even moved sooner than that, but I would never admit it. Roundabout has tickets for younger people, which I believe is $30, but you have to be a certain age for those. So find a student, find a friend. I think you have to be under 30 to get that $30 ticket. That's another great way to go about it because they can buy those in advance. All right, so I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on Pirates, the Penzance Musical. Go check this out. It's a fun time, and I'd love to hear what you think.
Don't confuse me.